Okay, everyone, let's continue on to Section 7, Layer 2 through Layer 7 Service Insertion. External L2OUT. We are going to see what other type of connectivity and service insertion can we integrate into ACI. With that said, we have L2OUTs. In this video, we're going to talk about L2OUTs and what are they for. So remember on Section 5, we discussed L3OUTs, which is basically peering a Layer 3 routing protocol between my ACI fabric and my external core switch or external router. L2OUTs are known in ACI as external bridge domain, meaning that I can go ahead, and if you can see the slide right here, I can extend a VLAN into my ACI fabric from an external network, right? So let's say, for example, you decide to have a core switch, you have a campus core outside of your ACI fabric. You have a couple of VLANs inside this core switch, and you need to provision an interface and allocate a resource inside ACI to be part of this VLAN inside the core switch. So in this case, we are going to designate VLAN 210 for our demonstration. So we have this core switch. We have a layer 2 uplink going to border leaf 101. And what we need to do is we need to allow that broadcast between that campus core to my ACI fabric, because we are going to designate an EPG that is basically external. Once we have the external bridge domain, we can apply the same principle as we always do in ACI, which is add a contract, add the endpoint groups, set the service and filters, and we're going to allow communications between my L2OUT through VLAN 210. So we have this machine sitting on the campus core on the same VLAN 210, and it needs to communicate to my tenant web SRV farm to a particular server in the app SRV EPG. So in order for us to do that, number one, we have to configure the physical aspect of it. We have to do the fabric access policies. We have to build those interface policy group profiles. We have to do the AEP. We got to do the external bridge domain, which is, in this case, is the L2OUT. We have to do the VLAN pool for this L2OUT, which is going to be VLAN 210. And finally, we attach that to the switch profile. How would it look from a logical standpoint? Let me show you real quick how it's going to look. We're going to have an EPG, and we can call this EPG VLAN 210 or L2OUT. It doesn't matter. You just need to label it in a way that you know that this belongs to the campus core. So in this case, I'm just going to label the EPG to be VLAN 210. Okay? With that said, we have an EPG, right? The EPG is VLAN 210. This EPG, which we can set up on the same tenant web SRV farm, then we need to add a VRF. So we have a VRF, same for the L2OUT needs also a VRF because we need to attach a bridge domain. In the bridge domain, we're going to have a subnet. And basically, this is the subnet, the 172.168.210.0/24. That's the L2OUT subnet that we want to reach, okay? And the VRF, we can call this VRF L2OUT, right? And then we have a bridge domain, and we can call that as well L2OUT. This connects to the VRF. The VRF is attached to the endpoint group. And ultimately, your L2OUT attaches to the VRF. Once we set that, the communication, it's just as what you do currently with endpoint groups. You associate the endpoint group to the VRF, and then the VRF goes to the bridge domain. Inside the bridge domain, you then associate a subnet, or you configure a subnet address for this particular endpoint group. We can also attach the contract between the app SRVS and my L2OUT using the external bridge domain. Let me go ahead and explain to you a little bit better. You can go ahead and create the L2OUT. You create a contract and you associate the contract to the L2OUT, either provide it or consume, And then the other side is attached to my app SRVS, VS. And this is basically an APG. Okay, so once we have that, we allow the same communication between different APGs. It's literally, L2OUT is another APG, but the only difference is it's external. The resources are actually outside of ACI, and we're classifying them onto an external bridge domain. Once we do that, we can then either apply endpoint groups onto the external bridge domain, which means that I can have an APG associated to the L2OUT domain. So I can do that. And then whatever we attach to this APG is basically part of the L2OUT because it's going to sit on the same external bridge domain. Another item that we can do, we can say, well, I have an endpoint plugged in ACI, but I want to use the default gateway from my campus core to route, right? So even though that is on ACI, it uses the campus core to go out. So it's the endpoint default gateway points to the campus core, in this case, .1. And then from the campus core, it can route back in to ACI. Again, we're not going to go that deep, but yeah, I'm giving you scenarios. This is basically, in a nutshell, this is you tagging a port on a leaf and attaching an endpoint group to the leaf. And then basically that VLAN is an endpoint group. That's all there is. You have another way of doing it, which is even simpler. You can create a physical domain and associate the physical domain to the VLAN ID, and then attach the physical domain onto the endpoint group, and it literally does kind of the same thing. It literally associates a layer 2 extension to ACI. So, very important, when we work with L2OUTs, if we need to flood on the VRF, messages, they need to be flooded. We need to flood the broadcast, so we need to allow that in the VRF, so then the external L2OUT can communicate to the ACI fabric, okay? Well, we're going to see that now in a demonstration. So let me go ahead and jump on the APIC, and we're going to configure this, and you're going to see everything end to end. Our end goal is to allow PC1 to communicate to the app1 SRV1, okay? So let's do that. Let's do the L2OUT, let's do the contract, and let's go from there. Okay, so we are inside the ACI APIC right now. We are logged in. Let's go ahead and configure those fabric access policies so that we can configure the L2OUT. I'm going to start with interface profiles. Let's build a policy group. The policy group, let's call it L2OUT, obviously. And we are going to set the link as 1 gig. We are going to enable CDP just to make sure that we can see the iJSON device and they can see us. And we are not yet going to attach the AEP because we need to build it. So we have the L2OUT in the policy group. Now let's attach the profile. And based on the slide, we are attaching this L2OUT to Ethernet 1.2 and leaf 101. So we're going to create the interface profile. And we're going to say L2OUT int profile. Okay. Now we're going to select the interface, Ethernet 1.2/2, policy group, and let's find our L2OUT that we just built. Press OK. So now we got the interface profile. We're good until there. Now let's build the AEP, L2OUT, and we still need to build the external domain. Let's just leave the AEP build. We already have it here. Now we're just going to use it to attach our external bridge domain. Let's configure the VLAN that we are going to allocate to that L2OUT. So what we need to do is create a VLAN pool, and we're going to call this L2OUT VLAN 210 because it's only VLAN 210, static allocation 210, static and external on the wire encapsulations 210, and submit. Okay, so we have the VLAN pool. We got the AEP. Now let's build that bridge domain. Right click, create, and let's call this L2OUT. And we are associating our L2OUT AEP that we just built as well as our L2OUT VLAN pool. We'll press submit. Okay, and we're good there. Now we need to associate the AEP to the policy group. So let's go back to the policy group, L2OUT, scroll down, and AEP, and L2OUT, and submit. Okay, so we are good on the fabric. Now let's attach that to our leaf 101 so then the port comes right online. go to switch profiles, leaf profile, leaf 101. And let me attach the L2OUT interface profile and press submit. And we are good to go on the Fabric access policy. So we have all the physical connectivity or all the physical configuration done. Now let's go to tenants. Let's go to Web SRV Farm. Let's build that external L2OUT. We expand networking, and now we select Bridge Networks, and this will be our L2OUT. Right click, create a bridged outside. And let's call this L2OUT to campus, because we want to know where that is going to. Now we need to associate the external bridge domain that we built in the Fabric access policies, L2OUT, here it goes. And bridge domain, we need to build a bridge domain for this particular L2OUT. As I mentioned to you on the whiteboard session, we need to associate a bridge domain, which then gets associated to a VRF. L2OUT BD will be our name. VRF, we attach this to L2OUT VRF. So if you don't have it configured, you can go ahead and do a normal VRF. Just do L2OUT VRF, and then you press submit, and you're good to go. Already got it here, and press next. And we're gonna discuss the R flooding because we need to do R flooding, but not now. We're gonna continue and finish. Okay, cool. What is my encapsulation? Well, VLAN 210, that will be our VLAN inside the L2OUT. And now we have a path of either a port channel, virtual port channel, which spans between two different switches or leaves, and then the port. In this case, we're doing an access port as a single port. Now it's set as port node 101, and then we select interface 1.2. We add. So you see it right here. This is where we add this onto the bridge outside or L2OUT configuration. And then we can create our external EPG networks. And this is, remember in routed networks, we have the section where we configure the networks themselves and advertise those subnets. This is to tell that we have a network active in this L2OUT, and I can just label this to be L2OUT network, and that's it. And then I can apply my QoS settings right here, but I'm not going to do that on this demonstration. This is basically for us to build that L2OUT configuration, okay? We'll press OK, and we'll press finish. Now, we have the L2OUT built. We have the path, because right here you can see the path that we were using, the VLAN ID, the bridge domain, and the physical domain. Let's go to the bridge domain real quick. Click L2OUT, and we see that it's attached to the L2OUT VRF. Very important. Let's allow L2 unknown unicast to be flooded. And it's actually telling us, once we enable L2 unknown unicast is flood, our flooding has to be set to true, which we are going to set to true. And you see right here, as soon as I change this to flood, our flooding was enabled. So please make sure that this is set and this is set for our L2OUT. Okay, so we want to allow that flood to come in. And we are pressing submit, and it's telling us once we modify the L2OUT settings, L2 unknown unicast will cause the following. Interfaces to devices attached to the endpoint groups attached to this bridge domain will bounce. So technically what it's saying, I'm just going to wipe out my bridge domain learning, and I'm going to relane everything. And this is right here. It's actually telling you that it's going to relearn all the addresses. Want to apply? I'm going to say yes. Okay, so we're good there. And let me go to L3 configs, and we are good. Okay, that's all we have to do on the bridge domain L2OUT. Now, let's build a contract for our L2OUT to my app SRV communication. Let's create a contract, and this will be L2OUT to app SRV. So we know we are going from the L2OUT to the endpoint group app SRV. Scope, again, we can say VRF because this is on a particular VRF, or we can say global, which applies to different tenants. Usually set as global, and then I can go ahead, and if my L2OUT is not on this particular tenant, I can apply it regardless because it's set to global. So make sure that you export the contract, and we already discussed that. Subjects, I'm just going to say allow. We're going to allow all just to test. Filters, and I'm just going to allow all, and press OK, and press submit. Now we have the contract built. We have to do a association of that contract to my app SRVS. Let me go to that app SRVS, and we are going to attach the contract as provided. Okay, so our server is going to be the provider of this contract service. So L2OUT to app SRV, this is where we apply the contract as provided. Okay, so we have it applied. Now we have to go into that external L3OUT and associate the contract as consumed. So once we expand the L2OUT that we just built, we have the node profile, which includes the interface profile, which points to the interface. And then remember network, when we build the network, this is where we actually assigned the contract as consumed or provider, very similar to the external L3OUT. So let's assign it to a consumer. There you go, L2OUT. And this is applied as consumer. The other side is provided, which is the app SRVS. And now we have that. Now we need to assign a subnet. So the BRF, we make sure, even though that we have a layer 2, it's literally a layer 2 extension, we still need to assign a subnet to it so the VRF can advertise a route between the web SRV VRF in which the app SRV is attached to my L2OUT. So they both need to know how to reach each other, right? Because even though that is L2OUT, it's layer 2, I still need to tell the app SRVs where is my L2OUT subnet? Where do I go? I still need to route, right? So this is where we need to attach that subnet. And our L2OUT network in the campus core is 172.16.10. And very important, the core, and let's bring the core interface here. 1 second, let me go ahead real quick and open a buddy session. And let me go to that core. Okay, so we're in the campus core. Let me show run interface VLAN 210, and I already have it configured. It's .1. So make sure you don't assign .1 to the ACI fabric because I already have .1 in my campus or on my access switch. Okay, so we're not going to assign the same .1. We need to assign something else, and I can assign .2/24. And we want to share between VRFs because we are connecting between the L2 VRF to the web SRV VRF, right? Okay, so we'll press submit. Now we are good to go there. The app SRV still needs to advertise this between VRFs, which indeed is configured as that, because if not, then the L2OUT will not know how to reach the app SRVS. Let me go on to the bridge domain for the app SRVS. Click on subnets, and yeah, we are good. Okay, let's bring the PC1. So I have PC1. This is the PC that is going on that particular campus core. It's connected there, and its default gateway is to 10.1, which we saw. And let's see if we can ping the default gateway, or better yet, let's ping the .2, which is the L2OUT inside ACI. Ping first my default gateway to make sure that we can communicate. And yes, we can communicate to the default gateway, meaning that I can talk to the core. Now let me try to ping the ACI side. Woo, look at that. I am able to ping the L2OUT address that we configure in ACI. So we know that we have L2OUT reachability between my campus core and the ACI fabric. Now the moment of truth. And the moment of truth is we need to ping the app SRV1 server, which is 10.150.110. Let's try and see if we can ping the app SRV1 because we know that we can get to the L2OUT configuration in ACI, and we have the contract between the app SRV and the L2OUT. So let's see if we can get to the app SRV1. Let me go ahead real quick and ping 10.150.110. We cannot. And this is why we cannot. I'll give you a hint. Everything is configured correctly in ACI. There's nothing else to do in ACI. The ACI configuration is correct. Because this is an L2OUT. The campus core, I bet you it doesn't know how to get there. It doesn't know how to get to the 10.150.1 network, right? Because it's L2OUT. It's just like a layer 2 extension, but there's no route advertisement in an L2OUT. I am not exchanging routes like OSPF or BGP like we did on section 5. This is a completely different setup. This is literally L2OUT. So we have to jump on that core and advertise a route to get to this network and tell the next hop, which in this case is going to be .2. .2 is my ACI L2OUT interface, okay? So let's go ahead real quick and jump onto that core. Okay, let me go ahead and insert the route. IP route 10.151.0.255.255.0. And then we want to point to the ACI L2OUT that we just configured, the interface 16.210.2. That's our interface inside ACI. Press enter, and now let's give it a shot one more time. Up arrow. There you go. You saw it? It's literally a layer 2 trunk. That's what it is. It's the layer 2 extension inside ACI. And from there, that L2OUT, you attach the contract like it's just another EPG, because that's what it is. It's just another EPG. Okay? So there you have it. L2OUT. In our next video, we're going to discuss VLAN stitching, which is a way that is definitely way easier than doing L2OUTs. And there's a reason why you might need to do L2OUTs, because you need to apply particular policies to restrict certain traffic, in which the VLAN stitching is literally that. I'm just going to stitch an extension. And that demonstration will be very simple, so you're going to see the difference. It's very simple to do a VLAN stitching. It's more complex to do L2OUTs. But you have it. There you go. That's the whole process to do L2OUTs. And let's jump on our next video.